Okay, many of you have been commenting and asking in my two recent videos about this gaming device, retro gaming device, me playing Final Fantasy, but also now Chrono Trigger. And I kind of wanted to make somewhat of a love letter to Chrono Trigger. This game is unbelievably amazing. I am so surprised how much I am enjoying this game. I played now for I think 5 to 6 hour gameplay time according to the save state, and while I haven't finished it yet, I really want to kind of make this love letter to this game because it is so good. Not only let's start a little bit differently. I want to kind of paint a picture on where I am in my life in terms of gaming. So with gaming, for me, I love gaming, but as a person who is already over 40, having responsibilities and stuff like that, it is really difficult for me to play games and just sit down and enjoy one of these AAA games. And for example, Witcher 3 is an example that I always like to kind of mention. I really enjoy that game. But with me having lots of responsibilities, I'm a freelancer, sometimes a work project, sometimes I have a lot of time to kind of play it. So I started that game, or Red Dead Redemption, started both games. Then I had to do a project and I was away from my Xbox or PlayStation back then for a couple of weeks and went back to the game. I had no clue, what I have to do, which quest did I have to follow, and I totally forgot how the gameplay works, or maybe not necessarily forgot how it works, but rather how to play it properly. So I lost a lot of fights in the beginning, and that was obviously discouraging, and I didn't enjoy playing it. Furthermore, with consoles, you always have to kind of consider, okay, maybe because I didn't play for 2 weeks, I have to kind of start it up and download an update that goes on for an hour. So it cuts off time of me playing. Then I have to kind of start the game with those AAA games. It takes forever sometimes until you actually can able to play. With some games, you need to go to a server, and then for some reason there are server issues and whatnot. So it makes it really hard for me to play a game. Enter retro gaming. For me, being able to kind of take this with me wherever I am and then kind of utilize those small little breaks, even if it's just 10 minutes, I can just switch the on button. It brings me right back to the place where I left off. Some people kind of consider these save states a little bit of cheating, but for me, with so many responsibilities and so little time, save states are a game changer. I can play without having to worry. For example, Final Fantasy VII, I remember when I was younger, I was playing it and there was no save point anywhere and I had to go to school. I left the PlayStation 1 just on, hoping that my mom wouldn't go into my room and switch off the PlayStation. So having save states is amazing and gives me the freedom to play in those small little breaks. Now, that kind of tells you a little bit about why I love retro gaming and these small handheld devices, but also with retro gaming, it is, for example, like beat 'em ups. I love beat 'em ups. I love Tetris. I love Super Mario. At least the one on Game Boy and GBA. On Super Nintendo, I'm not that big of a fan, to be honest, but those games I can easily just grab and go and don't have to worry about quests. So with games like Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger, having save states obviously makes it easier, but also sometimes you forget where you are. But now enter Chrono Trigger. This game is amazing. So without spoiling too much, it is, as the name implies, implies, it is a time travel game. And not only it's a time travel game, but it's also a so-called jRPG, so a Japanese inspired or originated role-playing game where you have a couple of characters that you can kind of develop, that have magic, that have attack skills, and that, just like Dungeons and Dragons, which I'm a huge fan, hence the reason why I love role-playing games, gives you the ability to kind of develop your characters whilst the game progresses. And you have these battles in Final Fantasy. Those are randomized. In Chrono Trigger, what I've never experienced, at least consciously before, yes, you have Zelda, but I don't like Zelda that much. You see, just like in Zelda, you see your opponents or your enemies that you are going to fight. Instead of being randomized, you don't know where you're going and then suddenly there's a fight. Here you can actually see that, and that to me was really refreshing in terms of gameplay. Everything else, the battle is pretty much similar, but again, you can see the enemies, so you can kind of decide, am I going to fight them or am I trying to kind of walk around them? So that is really refreshing. Then there are no battle screens that need some time to kind of load. You go right into the battle, which makes the gameplay much faster and not as tedious. Again, making those 10 minutes of a break much more easier to kind of put in as much gameplay time as possible. Again, a huge benefit and a huge deal why I love this game so much. So gameplay is much faster, much more fluent, and still has this round-based battle mode that I enjoy so much whilst developing your characters. But the most important part why this is a love letter to Chrono Trigger is the story. I recognize that some people don't like this. Many people nowadays and back then love open world games. But again, going back to me not having much time, Chrono Trigger, while it is somewhat open world, I would rather consider it a story that you can play. I wouldn't go that far to say it is a game or a storyline on rails, like in the Uncharted games or Last of Us games, where you have a pretty much set path to kind of progress the story. It's not like constricted like that. Still, I wouldn't say it holds your hand, but I'm having difficulties to describe it properly, but in a way it kind of holds your hand and guides you through a story. So you cannot kind of get lost in this story, because sometimes I had that with older Final Fantasy. So before Final Fantasy VII, I sometimes, when I played those games, especially, I forgot what the name was, one of the very first, was it Final Fantasy 3 or 6? Not sure, but in some games, I kind of get lost. I didn't know where to go, especially as a child. With this Chrono Trigger, it kind of holding your hands in air quotes to kind of guide you through the storyline. It makes it so much easier not to get lost. And again, for me, it's all about using the time that I have available to play this game as efficiently as possible. And that makes this so enjoyable. So not only is it easy to kind of follow the story, but more importantly, the story is amazing. This is, I'm not sure if it's really called that. It's an 8-bit, or I don't know if it's 8-bit, but pixel art style, where you see your characters obviously, but they are really tiny and only consist of a couple of pixels, if I kind of over exaggerated. However, the creators of this game, and one of them is actually the person who made Dragon Ball Z, they are so vivid, and despite them being so small and only kind of shown as pixels, you kind of are able to connect to those characters so well, and then suddenly something sad happens and you connect totally to that. And I don't want to spoil this. Again, for me, kudos to all of the reviewers who review movies, books, and games, being able to review them without spoiling. So I hope I don't spoil it too much, but there is a scene where one of your characters gets beat up. And usually you would say, oh, those are just some pixels. In those AAA games nowadays, you see face expressions and you see the whole character, and it's almost like a movie, right? So it's, in air quotes, very easy to kind of connect to that character and see when something happens. You can feel the emotions because obviously you see the face. But with this, with pixel art, you would assume, oh, I don't see any emotions. But the story is so well crafted that you see, and I try to visualize this by overemphasizing. This is just a couple of blobs of pixels of this character, and that character gets beat up. But in combination with the incredible music and the incredible storytelling, you actually feel for that character so much that that character gets beat up. And I try to save him, going in with the other character, trying to kind of get in between that. And I haven't had this kind of feeling in terms of storytelling and in terms of connecting to the game and to the characters as much as I had with this game, Chrono Trigger. So that is so amazing. Furthermore, there is in the beginning a part, and I want you to experience this by yourself, but there is a part in this game where something happens to your main character, and everything that you did before that point is being used to kind of progress the story for your main character. And I was mind blown because, don't forget, in games today, this is more or less normal. But this is a game that is really old. It was released on the Super Nintendo. So yeah, I was really young when that was released. So at least 20 years, I assume. And seeing that they brought back some elements from the beginning of the game where you kind of just willy-nilly did stuff and didn't really think that that would in any shape or form impact the game. The game takes those actions that you did and uses them to progress the story for your main character was mind-blowing. Again, always, yes, we take that for granted nowadays, but if you kind of remember, this is an old game. Your mind is completely blown and you are like, whoa, what the hell is going on here? And this is so cool because those are just small little hints that you did in the beginning of the game where you just don't think about it because it's a game, you kind of try out stuff, and suddenly it's an important, integral part of your storyline, and you're like, whoa, that is why this game is so cool. And again, I have only played this for 5 hours. I would say somewhere in the beginning or in the middle part because I am just starting with the time travel. And as far as I understand from also watching a couple of reviews, the mechanic of time travel is being also utilized extremely well in this game. I haven't touched it yet. I'm not there yet, so I don't know if I'm not spoiling because I haven't seen it myself. I only know it from reviews where they say, okay, when you do something in the past, it will be influenced in the future. For example, if you don't touch a box in the past, then in the future, that item will be completely developed. I didn't see that yet. I hope I will see it soon. But if that is really the case, and as I've seen in reviews, that is the case, then that is even more amazing. It is, yeah, this is, truth to be told, a huge love letter to this game, Chrono Trigger, and I feel like this is going to be one of my favorite games of all times. Also, I've heard that, or I've read in reviews that this is one of the first games back then that allowed you to replay the game with the characters that you already developed. So if your character at the end is at level 20, you can replay that game with your character at level 20. I don't know what kind of mechanics will be when you try to replay it. And I assume there will be a couple of different endings. That is also something that is totally new back then. Again, nowadays it's normal, but it's such an achievement to kind of realize that they did that back then in this game. And potentially it was the first time. I don't know. I'm not that well known in game history, but with that in mind, that is a huge achievement. Again, Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo. I'm playing it on the Anbernic RG35XX Plus. Amazing game. I love this game so much, and this is, I'm pretty sure once I finish this, I will play it again. This is, for me, one of my favorite, at the moment, one of my favorite games ever. So just to summarize, the games that I love, that right off the, I've never made this list, but right off the top of my head that I can tell you which are my favorite games would be the Diablo series, actually Diablo 3. I bought that 4 times, PS3, PS4, Mac, and on the Switch 4 times. And I played it multiple times, so it's one of my favorite games. Monkey Island 2, also one of my favorite games, also played it multiple times. Final Fantasy VII, and now this game. Oh, Last of Us is also great, but yeah, again, this is just from the top of my head. These games are amazing. I love them so much, and Chrono Trigger now has a big place in my heart of one of my favorite games. So yeah, what do you think about Chrono Trigger? Let me know in the comment section below. What are your favorite games? And especially in terms of retro gaming, maybe you have some recommendations what I could play after Chrono Trigger. I love these retro games, especially because I can kind of play these in between. Yeah, let me know in the comment section below. And speaking of retro gaming, I kind of want to tell you this because I was really geeking out 2 days ago. One of my favorite YouTube creators that also kind of, that I found after I was kind of dabbling with these retro gaming devices is Dweeb, and I love what he's making on his YouTube channel, and he actually subscribed to my channel, and I was so happy and so surprised that not only did he subscribe to my channel, but also he commented, and I love that, and thank you so much for subscribing, and I really love your content. Yeah, I think the way he is making his content is so refreshing, and yeah, just seeing new devices, new games is a huge inspiration in terms of what I can play next. So yeah, I just wanted to tell you that because I was mind blown when I saw that. And yeah, that was my love letter to Chrono Trigger. Maybe watch my previous video about Chrono Trigger in the video up here. YouTube thinks that you like the video down here. Don't forget to like and hype and potentially subscribe by clicking the button up here. That way we see each other tomorrow. Thank you very much.